Hello, my name is Jeremy, just your average everyday guy. That is until sometime in my early 30s, I developed a spinal condition known as ankylosing spondylitis. It took me from this, 6 foot tall, to this, not 6 foot tall. But I wasn't going to let that get me down forever, so eventually I kicked some bad habits and started fighting back. I still get some pretty strange looks, but I'm now doing what I love, traveling and adventuring. My goal is to show other people with disabilities or anyone facing challenges that your best days don't have to be behind you and that there's always hope. So thanks for joining me, the Handicapped Hiker. On the last episode, I began the first of 5 weekend trips in my home state, Ohio, and neighboring state, Pennsylvania. Let's pick up where we last left off, climbing up along Ozone Falls on the Falls Trail in Ricketts Glen State Park. I'm just going to say it. Watkins Glen in New York is amazing. Ricketts Glen in Pennsylvania is better. It's better. part of the reason why I'm doing this hike is this past Tuesday, we laid my grandfather to rest. And I wanted to do something in his honor. So I took this long weekend, found one of the best hikes in Pennsylvania, and I'm giving it a go. 96 years old, World War II veteran. And if he could do that, I can handle this. Now this might be a little hard to believe, but since the time I did this hike, I've done hundreds of trails all over the country. The Falls Trail at Ricketts Glen State Park remains one of my top 10 trails ever, maybe top 5. It is a true hidden gem. Okay, so just finished up the Falls Trail at Ricketts Glen State Park. And I gotta tell you, that was one of the funnest hikes I've ever done. That trail was awesome. Very exciting trail. Lots of narrow ledges, steep cliffs, not a lot of safety rails or anything, just very open and like a playground. I gotta admit, about a month ago, I was in the Southwest doing the Utah and Arizona thing. I had no interest in coming to Pennsylvania, but I wanted something close that I could do just on a weekend drive without renting a vehicle, going crazy, flying anywhere. Just something I could leave work early on a Friday, drive, stay one night somewhere. I am truly surprised at how fun this trail was. I will be back. This was fantastic. And I know Pennsylvania has a lot of national historic sites, a lot of national battlefields, but they don't have a national park. I'm gonna go as far as saying Ricketts Glen should be a national park. It's funny that I thought that back when I did this hike. At the time that I'm editing this video, I researched some facts and found out that they actually were planning on making this a national park back in the 1930s. But plans were scrapped and money was diverted at the outbreak of World War II. No offense to the folks in New York, Watkins Glen is amazing and it was fun and beautiful. This blew it out of the water, I'm sorry. It just did. I was hesitant to come take this trip by myself. This was worth it. I'm glad I came, but I'm also glad I'm on my way home now. But this was just a trip I needed to take. Think about some things, make some decisions. I'm kind of at a turning point in life. Not entirely sure which way to go, and just too many things to think about, honestly. So I need to get away from my regular surroundings once in a while, open my mind up a bit, see some new things, get some new perspective, and no major breakthroughs this weekend, but hopefully this will help things get a little clearer as time goes on. One thing's for sure, I'll end up where I end up, right? Gotta make the best of it. Now, I've been doing all this filming. We filmed the entire 2 weeks in Utah and Arizona, and I've still got to sort through all that video. We've got thousands of hours of footage. And I filmed this entire trip here this weekend. I haven't done a thing yet. I haven't edited anything. I've never done a video. I have no idea how to do it or how difficult it's going to be. I have an idea in my head of how I want it to go. Nothing ever goes the way you want it to go, but we'll do the best we can. Basically, the point of this YouTube channel is going to be to show how I've overcome my physical limitations. Being 10 years ago when my condition was at its worst, I could barely walk, I could barely get out of bed, I could barely stand up. Everything hurt. The pain was excruciating. I can't even explain how bad it hurt. My back, up into my neck, down my legs, just stabbing, excruciating pain. I was baby stepping everywhere. I was so limited in what I could do, and my outlook was terrible, and I couldn't get straight answers from any doctors on what was going to happen. So finally I just decided I wasn't going to live my life in a wheelchair. I was going to fight back, do whatever I could to get better. Whether the doctors told me it would work or not, I had to try. So at this point, I had actually bought a wheelchair. I had started using it. I was already very limited in where I could go and what I could do. I had a terrible drinking problem at the time. My bone density was just terrible, like paper mache, so they couldn't do surgery. So I cleaned up my act. I stopped drinking. That wasn't an easy thing to do. It took a long time. I failed many times, and I kept trying and trying. And finally I broke through and kicked the habit. And it was not easy. Sometimes it's still not easy, but it's the best thing for me. It was the right decision, and I'm so lucky that I got out of that rut. I cleaned up my eating habits. I started getting regular sleep. And when I felt like my heart was at a point where I could start to exercise, I started slowly with the only thing I could do, which was a stationary bike, because all I had to do was sit on it and pedal. So I started doing that a little bit each day, and then a little bit more each day, a little bit more, and finally I got to the point where I was doing 5 miles a day, 8 miles a day, 10 miles a day, sometimes 12. Sometimes on the weekends I would go crazy. I would do 20 miles, 30 miles. There were a few occasions where I did 55 miles in one day on a stationary bike. And yes, I was very sore after that. Pushed too hard. But most days I did 8 miles, and this is every day. And I made a rule that I would never do less than 5 miles a day. So I set that goal, and I stuck to that goal, and I did this for years. And I noticed my mobility started getting better. The pain started going away. I was able to walk better. My balance was starting to come back. And I was just amazed. Just amazed. And then eventually I got to the point where I no longer needed pain medication. I am a firm believer that diet, exercise, and cleaning up bad habits out of my life saved my life. And I think it can do the same for you. I'm not a doctor. I can't promise you that. But I'm fairly certain it can't hurt you. It can only help. It is worth the try. So the point of this YouTube channel is going to be to show how I overcame my condition, how I deal with my condition today, how I train, how I've conditioned myself for the things that I'm doing now. And I want to show people out there with disabilities that your life isn't over. You still have life to live. Your best days do not have to be behind you. It can change your life. It can change your life. You have to fight back. You have to try. And you know, I'm well aware what I look like. I see people staring at me and pointing at me and laughing and smirking. You know, most people don't. But I still see it sometimes. When I go on these hikes, I see people laugh. I see kids point. I hear people say things. it used to bother me. It still does bother me, but I've learned to deal with it. I'm well aware of what I look like, and I'm well aware of how the rest of my life is going to go. I just want to be happy, and I don't want to be in pain. That's my goal for the rest of my life, is to not be in pain and to be happy. And I feel like I am very close to being there. I don't think I've ever been in such a good place in my life, honestly. So, trips like this, goals like this, things that, challenge yourself. It's good for your soul. It's good for your heart. It's good for your mind. It does so much more for you than you think it can. You have to try. You have to fight. This is it. This is your opportunity. This is your opportunity to be the best you. Why blow it away? I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be perfect, but I try every day to be better, to be more understanding, to be more compassionate. This is your one opportunity at life to be the best you can. Don't waste it.
There are 4 more weekend trips left to finish up the year, folks. So be sure to tune in for the next episode, and we'll see you then.